Welcome back to the Ludiverse podcast. I am your host, Jay, and because my typical co-host is otherwise occupied, I have my wife.
Hi.
Back to help me with this interview. Today I have a couple of folks. I ran into them on Facebook, and they make rather interesting crafts. Would you care to introduce yourselves?
Hiya, I'm Daenor Gunnison, and I'm co-owner of CheekyUrban. We make BDSM gear.
Hi, I'm Todd, and I'm his husband, and we do all sorts from leather to timber and steel, and yeah, you name it. It's been interesting, big journey, really.
Yeah, so I was showing Danny, my wife, I was showing her some of the pictures that I saw on the post where I actually asked you to be on the show, and there was the hanging stocks, the wooden collar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what got you into the whole crafting of the bondage gear?
Well, it started off as kind of a hobby, really, but for the most part, it was me. I'm kind of the bad influence with the two of us, to be honest. But I wanted to get lots of new bondage gear, but we couldn't afford to buy any. So we started to make it. Started off with rubber, and we made this bed frame out of steel because I've got a bit of a fabrication background.
Oh.
And then we stuck just some of the photos online, and people was like, "Hey, that's cool. Can we buy that?" Yeah, hell yeah. And that's kind of how it started. And then just as the shop's gone on, people have really just taken a look at what we do and been like, "Hey, you do this, but could you do it this way, or could you make this?" And we 99% of the time, the answer is yes. And we just figure it out, and if we like it, we add it to the shop as a permanent item.
What materials do you prefer to work with?
Todd works with the leather and the rubber, doing most of the restraints and the harnesses and so on, and I work with the timber. So I do paddles and floggers and the pillories. So I do tickling stocks and neck to wrist stocks, neck, wrist, ankle stocks. So, and then other people will, want me to do variations of different things. So we're very open to other people's ideas and custom orders and so on, and we love it. And I love working with timber. And so, that's how we kind of got started. I was very vanilla until I met Todd. And Todd was 18. He came down as my apprentice because I'm a garden designer. I had a garden design business, and he came down with.
Yeah, and it went to shit from there.
We eventually got married after going through a few difficult stages in our relationship, but it's worked and it's just been fantastic. The journey's been great, and the different things that we have done. I think when my nieces and my nephews and all that think, what a kind of a story. Here I am at 61 being married to a 24-year-old making bondage gear in rural France. You couldn't write, really.
Well, they say love finds a way, and there you go.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely. Love knows no bounds. And age is no difference.
Yeah, as long as everyone consents, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been a little bit more difficult in America. Since I was 18, 19 when we started getting together. Wasn't a problem for me. I was more than happy and open-minded. But in certain parts of the world that would have been a bit more taboo.
Yeah, you go into certain cities, I don't think it would have been a problem in the U.S. It's literally just the areas.
Yeah, as a whole, we're a pretty prudish country.
Yeah.
Part of why I started the show, I was trying to get, the general public a little more. It's like all these things, it's like if it's a kink, it's taboo. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to discuss it openly, and there's no way to really learn about it without being shunned by people. So I'm like, I can talk to these people, let the general public understand that they're just people. Their interests are just a little broader, and there's nothing wrong with anything that anybody's doing that I've talked to.
Yeah, it's difficult nowadays as well, even on social media. Just recently, so Twitter account for our business, we got up not a huge account, but we got up to about 5,000 followers. There's no like nudes on there. There's nothing particularly sexual. It's just us making gear, and like if people who have the gear that we've made will post about it, we'll share it. Anyway, that account got permanently removed by Twitter. It didn't violate anything as far as I can tell, but it seems like they're trying to purge kink accounts through Twitter, and it's getting kind of more difficult again to kind of talk about this sort of thing. It's kind of strange.
Yet the racist and hate speech run rampant all over Twitter, and they say they can't do anything about it.
Oh yeah, no, that's funny.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah. But I think what we're doing is becoming more mainstream, and it certainly seems to have expanded since the COVID, where people have been at home. And
a lot of bored people at home.
They've been going on the internet and looking for things, and all of a sudden they've come across these different things to do at home, either by yourself or with a partner. and the business has been very good for us. And I think if COVID hadn't been around, I think we would have been not struggling, but we would have been a bit further back in business than we are now.
Yeah, it's very kind of weird situation, because like we do take the pandemic quite seriously, and in France there's lockdown at the moment. We know people who've been sick, like our neighbours got sick, but with the sex industry it seems like it's the only kind of industry that's kind of boomed from it, aside from politicians that saw it all coming.
Yeah, and I understand about the pandemic. I'm a certified nurse's aide.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, with the sex industry booming because of, the pandemic, everybody's stuck on lockdown. There's going to be one baby boom, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
I was talking about that. There's going to be a baby boom, surely.
They'll be talking about this 9 months ahead now about I wonder what you were doing. but that's the thing. The same with that. We've had a boom in beds of late. The big scaffolding beds that we've been making.
Yeah, we sold one to Australia recently, a few to America, one within France and Germany, and some to the UK. And I don't really know where that's come from, really. But this past month, we've probably sold more beds than we have in the past 5 years of us doing this. It's really strange. It's like something must have clicked with the algorithm, and the algorithm of Etsy is just kind of blessed us at the moment.
Well, I think some of it is people they have their kinks, their fetishes, their whatever, and they were keeping it to themselves. But then once lockdown hit, they were like, "Well, I got more time. I'm going to spend it online browsing around." And then it's like, "Oh, there are more people like me, so let me explore that a little bit." And then they open it up and they realize that they're not alone. And I think that's part of why sex is becoming more mainstream than it was. It's not quite as taboo.
Yes. Yeah.
No. I hope it goes that way for sure, because I think people would be a lot happier if they was able to
express themselves openly.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when I was 17, I joined the police force. My dad was a policeman. And at 21, they found out that I was gay. And it was against the law in Australia to be homosexual at that stage. So I got beaten up by my colleagues and hospitalised and then kicked out because I was gay. So I've been in the gay scene since I was 15 years old. And the whole kink thing and the leather thing and the rubber thing has been always a bit of like dark rooms and back rooms and all, really dark and dingy and disgusting. But now I've kind of got into this, and it's not. And you meet so many different amazing, intelligent, intellectual, loving people that it's becoming more the norm for me than a normal, normal life, what you would call normal. So, meeting all these different people, all it is just they've got this one thing or two or three things that they really enjoy doing. And I think that's fantastic, and it's great. And it's opened my mind and my view of this whole thing. And I've just embraced it, and it's great.
That's good. I mean, I think also what blew it up was, I guess, interest in the sexual world was, sad to say, 50 Shades of Grey, which is an abusive relationship if you look at it.
Yeah, I've argued that the guy basically just he kind of just stalks her, and then it's a bit darker than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah, I read it and then got curious about it, and then my ex-husband suggested read the Anne Rice Sleeping Beauty books,
Right.
and that you could tell a complete difference.
Yeah.
Just the only part I hate is the beginning. That's it. It's how she has to be awoken.
Okay, so of the products that you've made, what would you say is probably your most popular item? I know you said that in recent months the beds have kind of blown up, but overall, what would you say is your most popular item?
That would be Daenor's ankle stocks, really, I think.
For tickling.
Yeah, there's a really big scene at the moment in America that seems to be growing for people having their ankles restrained and having their feet tickled. It seems to be a big thing on Instagram for some reason. And that's just kind of exploding. So we sold some ankle stocks that Daenor's made to people who produce content of tickling, like tickling porn. It's kind of strange because it's not your normal porn. Like they're all fully dressed actors, well, for the most part anyway. But with the kind of content creators buying our stocks, as soon as that happened, and that went mental, and that's not slowed down at all.
At the moment I've got 5 sets of stocks in the shed on the make at the moment that have been ordered. So that's I've got another, and also the bigger stocks, the bigger pillories like the neck and wrist are quite popular as well. So the funny thing is that where we live in France is a medieval town, and we were looking at maybe getting a little shop because you can get picked up quite easily, and then like making all our gear but having it in the back stall. So, people can come in and then have a look at it. But the medieval festivals I can get one of the big pillories and put it out in the mains and get people to get into it.
Yeah, that would work.
Well, they wouldn't really, think about it too much.
Yeah, they would.
Apart from when I come out in my rubber gear, then they think about it. with a big Oh dear. But yeah, the pillories are very, very popular. Tickling pillories.
Yeah, the wood, all of the wooden stuff really.
Yeah.
It was like the leather. Like I really enjoy working with leather, but like it doesn't sell too well. That's mostly just my kind of hobby that is also on the shop. But yeah, for sure the wooden stuff that Daenor makes is really popular.
But also he doesn't we've sold quite a lot of his rubber stuff because it's we've kind of got a little niche into the vegan area.
Yeah.
And so the vegans like our rubber stuff, and it's reinforced conveyor belt rubber, so it's quite good for suspension and so on. And also he does these harnesses which are just beautiful, and people are really good into that. They have their lycra rubber suit, and then they put, which is really shiny, and then they put these big industrial harnesses and cuffs and ankles and thigh, and it looks fantastic. It really does. So yeah, that's good. But yeah, I think the wooden stuff is very popular. I think they like the look of because I do a torched version of the timber where I torch it with a flame, like a bit of a flamethrower, and then oil it, and it looks really old and very kind of medievalish. So I think they like that kind of look. I do, So if you're gonna tie someone up or put someone in a pillory, make it look like it's 100 years old.
That works. I can see that.
I mean, you could even branch out your business, and instead of just making just like bondage gear, just be like, hey, you have a medieval festival coming in? Here you go.
Definitely.
Cosplay.
Having a stall for sure, but you can get a stall in these little towns.
They have a market every Friday.
Yeah. But once a year they have these big medieval festivals, and it'd be pretty cool to have a stall going. But I don't know, it'd be interesting trying to get permission for that kind of thing. Maybe.
The French are more open-minded than most
That's true.
About sexuality.
I did notice that when I visited France.
Yeah, wouldn't Germany also be very open-minded?
Very
Because
much so, yeah.
I guess the taboo of Germany is that they started bondage or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Berlin, they have a big festival called Folsom every year, or twice a year. And the Folsom, they get tens of thousands of people, and they're all dressed up, and they all go to the restaurants all dressed up in their rubber, and and puppy gear and horse, pony play, and it's just the photos are just phenomenal, and we'd love to go there, and because we've got 4 husky Malamute, and so we'd love to dress them up in a bondage harnesses and all dress up like that and all go into the. I think that'd be amazing.
Like your old medieval armor, like horse armor kind of thing.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but
I love big breeds, so.
Our dogs are just amazing. They're all rescue dogs from different places. So
yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I can see one of them in your Discord profile picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure which one that is. I'm not sure to get it up on my phone. Yeah, that's Segan, I think. She's a 60-kilo Malamute. She's a little bit overweight. But she's a lovely girl.
She's a baby girl.
yeah. Just like home, but she was so aggressive, apparently, like super aggressive. She's just like the cuddliest thing that you've ever met. She's just this big cloud.
So most of the dogs are named after my ancestry is Scottish and Norwegian Vikings. So we've got Loki and Segan, who are 2 gods that were married, and then we've got Freya, another female. She comes from Brittany, and then
Alfie,
Well, someone's, so we call him Alfie because it sounds a bit.
Well, he does.
I do. They're the most gorgeous, lovable dog.
Yeah,
we're very, very lucky.
Oh yeah. Have you actually met and gotten to know anybody else who also does this, makes bondage and so on?
We've heard of a few people who are very close to where we live in France who have opened up bondage like playrooms and so on. An older couple, and I think they're English, but we haven't.
And then Montpellier,
and then Montpellier, we installed 2 beds down in the south of France.
Oh, that's a good story, actually.
And that's we drove from Sheffield all the way to Montpellier with all the bondage gear and to
trailer
install
full of beds. They did 2 massive beds, like emperor-sized beds,
in their hotel, and we stayed with them and their 2 little kids, and it was just beautiful. We had a good time.
Yeah, and then on the way back, we was driving up through France with the empty trailer now, and we was in Bourges, near Bourges, which is just like slap bang middle of nowhere in central France. And there's nothing. And the clutch of the car dies, and while we're trying to pedal it to the nearest town, it burns out everything and practically bites off the car in the middle of nowhere. So we end up in this little town, and we call the clients who bought the beds off them, who were just installed, and asked if they knew anyone. And I was like, we'll call around. And they called this tattoo artist that was just nearby. They picked us up and was like, oh, okay, cool. They was going to take us to the hotel, but first they took us to this motorbike group they was going to this evening, because I was on the way. We get in, and they're like, oh, just, we're fine with it, but don't mention you're gay. And we was like, okay, fine.
They're called the Medievals.
Yeah, it's a neo-Nazi motorbike club, like white supremacy neo-Nazi club. And we're just chatting away with everyone. We didn't realise. We're just, we had a really good time. That was nice enough.
They all gave us hugs afterwards.
Yeah, they all gave us hugs. Wished us the best with our car and stuff like that. Anyway, on the way back to the hotel, they're like, they say, oh, well, you told us a secret about you being gay and your business and stuff like that. We want to tell you one of ours. We're on our way to a swingers club now. We couldn't mention it in the club because they'd be against that kind of thing.
So would you like to come?
But would you like to come? Within 30 minutes, we're sat in this jacuzzi with this big Polish lady, and those 2 just sat naked next to us. So Daenor ended up taking me over to one of the crucifix, and we have a play there. And it's like, this all happened in the space of like 3 or 4 hours. So we're in the middle of nowhere. Then we get taken to a neo-Nazi motorbike club. And then we're sat in a jacuzzi in a swingers club in the middle of nowhere in France.
With a Polish woman with the biggest tits I've ever seen.
Yeah, and you couldn't make it up. I end up having to fly back to the UK to look after the Huskies, and Daenor stays in Bourges for another 2 weeks while the car gets fixed.
Now I want to go to France.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna.
I didn't get that when I went to France.
If you ever do come over here again, you're more than welcome to come and stay.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, if we make it that way, we'll shoot you a message.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Just got to deal with this one finish growing.
Yeah. Once the pregnancy's done.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
But, okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Getting back to bondage.
Sorry.
That's all right. I love it.
That's one of the reasons why I try to keep the whole thing casual. If it's too clinical and everything, you don't get the good stories.
Yeah, you don't.
Absolutely. We love a story.
I noticed the wood looked like a wooden collar on that one post. Do those sell pretty well?
Yeah, we sold a few. I think we sold about
5 or 6,
half a dozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to do collars because especially with the grain. Especially because I do it from old
pieces of oak.
pieces of oak, which is like been out in the weather and stuff. So I cut them up and put them through. But the grain when it comes out, it's stunning. And then we do it with little like jewelry box fittings. So it's a bit more delicate. So the thing is, it's not really for bondage.
Yeah.
It's more for fashion.
Yeah, it's the only thing we have without a D-ring, really, but it is more for show. Like, it's really fun to wear, but you don't want to be, like, pulling someone around by it. We have other colours.
So if you're going out, just to a night out and you're wearing your stuff.
Yeah, with, like, your latex suit and you've got this wooden collar.
You've got this wooden collar over it. Looks really nice. So that's what we kind of made it for. And we've sold a few mainly to females. We've sold a couple to men as well, really, really large ones.
Yeah, we did them like twice as thick because it was like this guy with like a 20-inch neck.
But Todd always, he's talking to people and he loves giving me things that I apparently need to do, and that was one of them. So he gets all these things in his mind. He goes, "Oh yeah, that'd be really great. I'll give that to Daenor. Daenor could do that." But I love it because it makes me kind of think out of the box and do, because I would have never thought of doing a collar out of timber, to be honest.
Yeah, the next thing that I'm kind of commissioning Daenor to do is a sensory knife, if you've kind of heard of them. One of the timbers we work with to start with is ironwood, Brazilian walnut, but it feels to the touch, like the weight and just how cold and dense it is, it feels like iron. It's I think it's the densest timber you can get, but with something like that, is going to make like knives out of it. So if someone's like blindfolded and tied up, it gives them the sensation of having a kind of a knife running across them without the actual hazard of there being a knife in the play. Because it's all to do with the adrenaline and dopamine.
That's something you're interested in.
Yeah.
So that kind of sensation really gets your adrenaline going. And there are a lot of people surprising about into knife. You can probably hear one of our huskies there. It's about dinner time and she's not happy.
No, I believe it.
No, it's all right. She's the new. We call her the gobby bitch.
Yeah,
she's very vocal. She's good. No, she's gorgeous. She's a cross Malamute husky, and she has
oh yes.
Yeah, she has a bit of a run-in with the other female, Segan, who's the main one, and she's they're still trying to figure out who's the top dog. We know that Segan is, but Freya has another thing in mind, I think. But she's very gorgeous.
Yeah, they've had a couple of fights, but
yeah. But yeah, I like working with wood. Wood's it's a beautiful. It's organic. It's nothing's ever the same because you're always going to get a different pattern and I love like working with it because it's always different every time. you do something. And the paddles that I do, and I've made a paddle which is the same shape and size as a gladius, which is a Roman sword, and that's really lovely. And I made it out of oak, and so I'm thinking of doing a set with small knives and swords to do with with that as paddles to sell. See if we can do it. But yeah, no, it's interesting working with wood, and I'm doing quite a bit of it as well with our renovations to the house. But people seem to like that kind of thing, and that's good with me. I'm glad my dad taught me how to do woodwork, and I learned it at school.
Yeah, I imagine this wasn't exactly what he had in mind when he was teaching you, though.
No, not really. But then again, I mean, my mum and dad, I used to take my mother and father out to gay clubs with me, and my mum used to hold court. She was the old queen of. She was very, very vile, my mother, and everyone loved her because of that. She had a very saucy tongue, the old Sue.
Good. There you go.
Well, it's good that your parents were accepting of who you were.
It was very funny because my eldest brother was a trolley dolly with Qantas Airlines. My other brother was a hairdresser, and I was a policeman, and I was the only fag. So I mean, like, go figure. Nothing like a man in uniform, darling. I was actually thinking back about it. I should have known because I was a horseman. I had big leather boots and leather gloves. So there you go.
It does.
So have you thought of or already tried doing like cuffs out of the wood, like the collar?
We thought about it. We got some requests, but with it not being like really strong for bondage, it would kind of like put us off. Like we don't like if someone was to restrain someone with wooden cuffs, they might break
and splinter, and that could be a health issue and safety issue. So it's and we're very, very studious about thinking about safety issues and stuff like that, especially with bondage gear and how quick you can get things off if something happens and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
so
like
you have to be really
conscious.
You have to be really conscious of that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We do handcuffs like a pillory. So if you instead of ankles you have your wrists in it, and you can either have it in an oval or a square, or we do it that way. And Todd's got a pair of those that I occasionally put him in to shut him up. And keep him in one place, which is very, very difficult sometimes.
So when somebody buys this, you do it and it gets delivered. Is there any instructions on how to care for the wood at all?
No, not really. I've already oiled it in the linseed oil, and we tell them that it's oiled in linseed oil, and so and we occasionally we also do it in beeswax as well if people like that. But I think it's just kind of with the wood, we never really kind of give them advice. If some people have already have messaged us and asked us about it, but if it's oiled, it's usually that's about it, and you don't really need to worry about it after that.
It's not untouched
because it's once it's oiled, it's usually pretty good. We do say to people that if you do need to oil it again, that's not a problem because it'll soak it up quite a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the things with linseed oil though. They used to use it for medieval staffs and spears because it actually crystallizes inside the timber itself and makes it stronger, which is one of the reasons we
Nice.
Yeah.
We try and when we go into things and look at things, we try and kind of source all different ways of creating the best way to look after things and treat things and make things. So it's easy for our clients and customers that they don't have to do very much after they get the item.
Yeah, we try and buy local as well where we can, like all the leather that comes from the local tannery in France. I work really closely with them to get the colours and stuff we want. Yeah, that is all part of it.
And we live in a national park. The national park we live.
It's good that you're making sure it's durable.
Yeah, for sure.
And that it's lasting.
Yeah, really the stuff we make, we want it to last, decades. Really, like the leather work, I I don't see any of the cuffs or collars or anything I make, breaking within like 10 or 20 years, like unless they're submerged underwater. But that's kind of the nature of leather. That's one of the reasons I like it. But I don't work with stitching either. Nothing is sewn; it's all riveted, because the rivets will last far longer than the sewing will. So it's all made to last.
And it's real leather, not faux leather, darling.
Oh, that's good. If you want to be true to it, I'd say go with real leather.
No, absolutely. I mean, as I said, with the, it's like I've got nieces who are vegan, and I've asked Todd to make little like fashion collars for them. And
so with the vegan rubber, that's kind of one of the reasons we did it.
Yeah.
With that, because it's stronger than latex and it's stronger than the PVC and it's much stronger than faux leather. So it was really difficult to find a material worked for vegans, but is durable. It was actually suggested to be by a vegan friend of mine, and then we've done a lot with that since. Really.
Yeah, a lot. It's very good.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's great because Todd likes making different prototypes and stuff like that. And of course, prototypes, you have to try them out. So
yeah, you got to test them.
And someone has to do it. And so it's me and them to break.
Yes, it's a hard job, but
somebody has to do it and get dirty.
Okay, so you said that you have had orders from America and Germany and Australia and a few other places. Yeah. So is there anywhere that you don't do delivery to?
No, not really. We normally find a way. Recently, it was quite difficult to get anything to England, and we almost stopped selling to the UK because nothing was making it there after Brexit. But that seems to have calmed down a little bit now, and stuff seems to be getting there. But there was a good 1 or 2 months where there was no point sending anything over because nothing made it. It didn't matter whether it was UPS or Chronopost, which is like a French post, or anyone else. UK was the hardest.
You could send stuff to North Korea, but you couldn't send stuff to the UK.
Yeah, the 3 main sites that I use in France, for a good 2 months, they stopped giving the option to send to the UK. You could send to North Korea, that's true, but you couldn't send to England. But like I said, I think that's calming down now.
Yeah.
As for the whole Brexit thing, that's been a bit of a mess. But let's not get into that.
But we've been lucky. We've sold to quite a lot of different countries, and Taiwan and Ukraine and Russia and Australia, New Zealand, and a couple of things down to South America, and and then America, Canada. So it's been quite amazing. So we kind of go through, and if we get excited about sending to a new country and so on. So it's but it's great. It's exciting that people are finding out what we do, and a lot of it's word of mouth, which is fantastic.
Yeah, but we're both useless when it comes to marketing. So just by kind of the nature of us not having a clue what we're doing, it is all by word of mouth.
And the BDSM crowd are very gobby about good quality stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
when someone finds something they like, they tend to tell their friends about it, and that helps us out.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have a website? Do you have a Twitter? What all social media and internet presence do you have for your company?
For the most part, it's we've got a new Twitter account that I can't use on my phone because I'm banned. I have to use Daenor's phone. But that's still CheekyUrban. Instagram is on CheekyUrban, and then most of our sales come through CheekyUrban on Etsy. If you search for CheekyUrban on Etsy, we'll come up. But if you just Google CheekyUrban, we do have our own website, which it has less items than Etsy. It's kind of more condensed. It's mostly the stuff that tends to do quite well as is, so it's a bit less cluttered. But for the full variety of kind of what we do, Etsy is the best place to go at the moment, but that might change.
Okay.
That's the thing that we're doing with our own thing.
I'll add some links in the show notes so that people can find your stuff easier.
Thank you. That'd be wonderful. Very generous.
If somebody were to want to get into making the bondage gear and such, is there any advice that you would have for them?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's like any craft really, whether it's woodworking or leatherworking, like not just bondage. If you start out with the intent to make money, you're going to be incredibly frustrated. I'd start out as a hobby, just see how it goes, and then stick your stuff online. I've discovered recently on Facebook, there's all these different niche groups, like the one you found me on. And some of those were actually quite friendly. So post your stuff on there and just kind of share it about, really, and get some advice, see what people think, get some feedback. But the main thing would be to just start as a hobby. And if you can make a little bit of money from it, then great. But if that's going to be your focus, then it's going to be very difficult to succeed. It was a few years before our business was really profitable. First few years was mostly just a hobby, really. And then in the past couple of years, it's really exploded.
Sounds like sage advice.
Yeah. Do you have an Daenor?
No. He's wise for his years, I tell you. I just get pulled around by my leash.
Do you have any more questions?
No, I think that's what I think I came up with while working yesterday.
Yeah, and so we've pretty much covered everything that we had to ask. Is there anything that you think should be mentioned that we haven't covered?
The only thing, if anyone's listening and kind of interested in what we make, just keep in mind what is on the shop isn't the only thing we're willing to do. If anyone has any ideas of stuff they might have just thought about or have seen somewhere and they want it made, just give us a shout. We're always happy to just have a chat with anyone, even if it doesn't turn into a sale. We're always very open-minded and happy to discuss ideas, and that's kind of, for me, that's the main enjoyment of it, working on new projects and custom orders and things like that. Like, there's certain items which are our bread and butter, but all of the custom orders and things, that's where it's really fun. So, just don't be shy to give us a shout, really.
And just, if you're thinking about the kink scene or the fetish scene or whatever, don't think it's it's a bad thing. Just be true to yourself. And because when you actually meet the people that are in this scene, they're all very, very similar, normal people who have a normal life. It's nothing bad or nothing horrible. It's very, very nice and easy. And so just be true to yourself and true to what you want.
More sage advice. Yes.
Well, that's what happens when you get to my age, sonny boy.
Fucking hell. It
has been wonderful. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's been great.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah. Absolute pleasure.
You have to send us a link once it's all up.
Yeah,
we'll be interested to share it about for sure.
And we'd be interested into the future. Your future podcasts as well, because I'm just.
They're not going to want you back.
See what I have to put up with? That's why I put him in a cage all the time. Anyway, and a gag.
that's
But no, it'd be great, because I'm very new to all this podcasting and blah blah blah. But it'd be great to listen to the future ones for sure.
I will through the Facebook Messenger. I'll send a link to the show as it is.
Cool.
And I will definitely make sure when your show is about to come out. I gotta do some editing stuff.
Yeah. So it's going to be 2 questions.
Thank you very much for coming on. Absolutely. And agreeing to talk.
Yep. As well.
Stay in touch.
And hope you all have a wonderful day.
Yes, and be safe. And darling, hope everything goes well with your little baby.
So do I.
I'm sure it will. And congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
And Daenor's a great name for him. You take care.
Okay then.
Feed off of food because they're talking at us now. They're about ready for food. But yeah, no, it's been fun.
Okay, if you all have enjoyed listening to this episode, feel free to tell your friends and family. Tell your mom. I told my mom. Why the hell not? You can help support us, like our Patreon supporter, Zachary Hale.
Mhm.
And if you don't have the money to help donate, then just ratings, reviews, gets the word out there, brings more listeners in. If you have any suggestions or questions, go ahead and send them in. Links to Twitter will be in the show notes, or easy to get a hold of. So until next time, keep each other safe, keep communicating, and just have fun.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye. Au revoir.
Thank you for listening to Ludiverse. If you have any questions or comments, contact us on Twitter or Facebook. Just search for the Ludiverse. Remember to rate and review wherever you listen. If you want to help support the show, please consider donating to our Patreon.